Hey, welcome to Clarksville Vibe the show where we tell the story about people here in Clarksville, Tennessee who make this place the greatest place to live in America. I'm your host, Kevin Kennedy Jr., lifelong Clarksville resident, went away to school for a little bit, came back and get to be a pediatric dentist in our community now and get to serve lots of families. And I'm just really excited to continue bringing you stories from great people from all across our community who are doing new, fun, exciting things, making our community better. Today's guest is somebody that I've really been excited to bring to you to hear her story of her business that she's brought in 2 different locations in our community that serves a lot of the young families that I get to see. And it's a really cool, just exciting activity of entertainment for families. I've got Cheyenne Day with us of Mochas and Minis. We're going to get to hear more of her story, how her husband was brought here by the military. They decided to stay, and now they're creating and operating this really cool business here in town. But before we get into that, make sure you hit like, subscribe, follow the episode, whatever it is. The reality is you're going to be encouraged by this content of great people from our community, and it's going to be entertaining. So you don't want to miss any episode that comes out every other Friday. With that, Cheyenne, hey, thanks so much.
Hey.
Yeah, we're so glad you do this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I am familiar with Mochas and Minis. I remember when the first location opened, and my wife has been there a few times.
Yeah.
She was on the other side of town, and you know, I think now with the Sengo location, it's just an exciting time, and it is something that's really cool, and it's fun to see people our age take a chance. And I would say that that's kind of where you are, is taking a chance and trying to grow this business. But let's talk a little bit about, you know, how Cheyenne got to be the business owner, right? Because you were telling me before her husband was in the military, you guys decided to stay, and then now here's this, like, what do we do with our life? And you've created something that's really special. So how did that, like, when did you notice that fire in you to maybe take a chance on something that has really not been done before?
Yeah, just to make it a little bit shorter, I was going to school to be a dentist, actually.
I did not know that. Yeah.
I was getting all my prereqs.
You might have made a good choice. Yeah. We're going to transition this episode and tell you all the reasons why you made a good choice.
So I was a dental assistant. I worked really hard getting that. And then I was like, oh, I really love this. I was working in pediatric dentistry.
Oh my gosh.
And I just love
I should do my homework a little bit more.
I love the kids so much. So
they are fun.
Yeah.
The kids are awesome.
It was fun.
Yes.
It was fun. So I got into that. I was like, man, I really like this. So I'm going to go to school to be a dentist.
Yeah.
And I started my prereqs at APSU.
Yeah.
And I started having a lot of health issues. I found out that I had rheumatoid arthritis and psoriasis and all of these things. And they were like, it's probably not smart to go into a field where you use your hands primarily, especially with the arthritis. So I had to kind of regroup and circle back and kind of see where I was going with life. So my husband at that point had been in for almost 10 years, and we had 2 kids. And we were like, this is a very fast-paced lifestyle, moving around. So we were just kind of ready to settle down. So that's whenever I was like, I love children. We moved here. There's nothing for children. So let's just kind of put those things together and open something for the community.
Yeah. And so what birthed out of that idea is this business, Mochas and Minis,
Yep.
right? Tell us a little bit. So for someone who's not familiar with it, the name is kind of self-explanatory, but
You would think.
what do you actually do? What does the business actually serve?
So we actually get confused for a dog place sometimes. I don't know why Mochas sounds
I would
like
not
dogs.
have thought that. Yeah.
So sometimes we have that little issue, but I thought of the name because I wanted to serve 2 kinds of people in the community: children, of course, and their parents.
Yeah.
So we wanted a place where parents could come, relax, meet other people, have a coffee, and kids could play and let out all that, steam.
Yeah. The high octane energy. Yes.
Yeah.
You're fueling one of your customers and you're trying to drain another one.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So if you are a parent and you've ever been to like a Starbucks or another coffee place, you just kind of feel unwelcomed whenever your kids are kind of running around, touching everything. So I just wanted to kind of target those people that needed a place to go and didn't feel ashamed to be there, really.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I hadn't thought about that because, I've never really taken my kids to a coffee shop because it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But traditionally speaking, it's like it's supposed to be a calm and cool environment where you can kind of just lock into your productivity zone and just go for it. But having a space where parents don't feel the need to be paying a babysitter $15 an hour to go meet their friend who can, you can sit down there, have the same conversation, the same connection, and then yet at the same time, your kid's got a place to play.
Yeah.
Wind off the energy. It's a really fantastic idea. So I'm curious, like, how did that go with your husband? Because, you know, I know in my house when there's new ideas of things, it's always at an interesting time that my wife will bring me an idea and she's like, hey, I got an idea for it. It's like we're Sunday morning it's like going to the 9 a.m. service at Life Point, and she's like dropping this on me at like 8:57 pulling in the parking lot. She's like me. I've got an idea that I want to talk to you about. I'm like, literally, what are we doing? So tell me a little bit about how you like developed this idea in your brain, and then how did you go to him and what was his response?
Yeah, we had the conversation multiple times about how he could separate from the military.
Okay.
He loved his time in the service, but it was just time for our family. Yeah. So we went back and forth discussing, you know, I had got the diagnosis for all of my things. So I'm like, okay, I don't know if dentist is really going to work out. And he's like, well, I am a mechanic in the military, so maybe I can be a mechanic on the outside. So he starts going to this mechanic program that they offer on Fort Campbell for a transition assistance. And he went to it. And it just didn't light the fire in him. He was like, I don't really love this very much and all of that. But I went to him and I'm like, I have this crazy idea. Let's open an indoor playground. And you just say it out loud and you're like, what?
What? Yeah.
And he was 100% supportive. He is so supportive on
That's
everything.
awesome.
I think he just is used to the chaos and is just like, yes to everything. But he was so supportive.
That's
and
cool.
You know, he was still active whenever we opened, and he would go to work in the morning. So, you know, the 6 a.m. PT, all that, go to work, and then get off of work and come help me build Mochas. So we didn't really hire contractors for a lot of like the flooring, the painting, all of that. Like, that was all us. We were putting in the sweat equity because whenever you're first starting a business, you don't have a ton of funds.
No, it's like that Instagram reel that's going around. That's like, how do you have all these skills? It's like, because I'm poor. I don't have the money to pay these people who know what they're doing. Like, I just figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
So how do you develop these skills? I don't have a choice.
Now he knows how to lay flooring, paint, all that fun stuff.
That's
so,
cool.
But no, he's just really supportive.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. I couldn't have a better husband.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't know if my wife would say the same thing when she brings me ideas, because I'm usually like, okay, well, how's this going to work? And she's like, you're so negative. You're like squashing on my dreams. I'm like, I'm really not trying to. I'm just trying to like get to the place in my head where I can understand it. But it is, you know, I'm always interested to hear how couples create something new and they start something because these two personalities in a marriage, like one is usually visionary, one may be a little bit more practical or numbers driven, and you're just like, okay, well, how do we pay for it? And but what's it going to look like? And what's the mascot? And what's the colors? And well, what do you mean? But like, what are we going to charge? And you know, it just, there's so many decisions that come into, okay, here we're going to start this business that doesn't exist, and we don't have a model to go on.
Yes, I'm glad you're recognizing that. I feel like that gets overlooked a lot, especially if you've never opened a business.
No, I can't imagine the number of things that you found out that you didn't know you were supposed to know.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, for example, like I have looked into a drop-in childcare center, right? And it's like, we don't really have one of those. We used one when we were in Memphis. It was a great service to our family. Like, hey, it's like you either pay a membership or you pay by the hour, and you just drop your kids in so you don't have to rely on a babysitter. Like, you could just go there. Yeah. I had 2 phone calls about that. And I was like, I can't do this.
The liability
is
so
crazy.
Much.
The law of taking care of children is so crazy. So what, like in your Mochas and Minis journeys, like when you say the liability is this, like what did you learn that most people wouldn't understand?
Oh my goodness.
Like, cause people think, oh, like
so
you just set up a playground and let kids come in and play. No, ma'am. No. I'm sorry. Like, this is why our fees are the way they are, because we've got all of these overhead expenses just to be able to allow your kid to come in and try to play.
I think the biggest shock factor, and it's not even that shocking besides the price tag, is how much it costs to rent a commercial building. Yeah. That's the biggest shocker to everybody, I feel like.
That's right.
So that is insanely expensive.
Right.
So do some research on that if you are thinking about opening a business, because I jumped right into it and I was like, I don't care what has to happen. I'm going to open this because my heart was calling it. I was like, we don't have anything for the children. I really want to do this. So I was all in or nothing. Yeah. Like, it was going to happen no matter what. So I guess that was the biggest shocker whenever I first started, was how much everything just generally costs besides the building, but the play equipment itself. You're looking at upwards of $100,000 for even the smallest play equipment, not even the nicest stuff that they offer.
Yeah. And then, you know that when you drive around in some of the private schools and you see like that's the playground they have. And then you realize like, oh,
The
you don't
perspective.
have the playground because
Yeah.
what is a really nice playground somewhere else is $200,000
Yeah.
or whatever it may be. And yeah, it's insanely crazy expensive to have some of that. I would have loved to have had a playground on my facility, you know, for the pediatric dentist. That would have made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But part of it is like, do you
financially,
really take up the land and take away parking spots to put a $100,000 playground on it
Yeah.
to then have the liability that,
Add it to
does
your
it added
insurance
to the
bill.
insurance? So it's like now you're eroding a lot of the profits that could, or even just the dollars within the business that could help support your employees' families. And so it's like every dollar has its place to go, and you're just choosing how to like best try to make it work. And the reality on the commercial real estate space is you're competing for your great idea, which our community needs and would benefit from so much, but you're competing with sports clips and all of these other like big national retail brands that will use that same space, that
And
same
they have
square
all
foot,
of the
and they've
paperwork.
got the money
Yeah.
and it's not an issue. And so getting over that hurdle it's a big hurdle for someone that's starting something brand new.
Absolutely. So I was turned down about 5 times from local real estate places. They wouldn't even laughed at me for my
Yeah.
idea. They said, that will never work. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then I almost gave up because I was so discouraged. I was like, no one's ever going to give me a break to get started, to even let me see if it'll work. Because you never know if it's going to work when you open a business. It's all just faith and
Sure.
seeing if you can get there. But how I came across my first building is so funny because I was so determined to not give up on this. I was driving around Clarksville. I was just driving everywhere. And I was looking for signs because commercial real estate, they don't post it like residential real estate. It's not on Zillow
Sure.
and all that. Some of it is, but a majority of it isn't. So I was driving around and I saw this building. There was no cars outside of it, but it had a sign and it looked like it was operable. It didn't even look like it was for rent, but there was a number on the door and I was like, I'm calling about this. A weird question, but like, there's no one here. It doesn't look like it's open, but it's full of stuff.
Right.
And yeah, it just kind of happened really fast after that. She's like, there's a furniture store in here. It's not doing too well, so that's why they're not open. And they're about to go out of business. And I was like, okay, well, can I come by and take a look at it sometime? And it all just snowballed after that.
Wow.
After that happened so fast. Like I didn't
Yeah.
have a second to breathe. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to come up with $16,000 for the deposit and the first month's rent. And I'm like, it's just happening so fast. And if you are a military family or you're affiliated with military, you realize how much $16,000 is. It was almost just ridiculous. But my husband's like, if this is your dream, go for it. And he really just let me have every single penny that we had in our bank account to start this thing.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, what really stands out to me in that part of your story is it was a lot of your initiative. Like it didn't really fall in your lap.
Not at all.
It's like, okay, you're going to ask the first person, you get turned down. A lot of people would give up at that point. You know, you go to number 2, number 3, number 4, and you kind of have some just negative criticism of your idea. It's like to be able to have the confidence in yourself to keep pushing forward is extremely admirable. Like that is, I don't think a lot of people understand what it's like to try to create something from scratch and get that negative energy just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then you're driving around and you call something on the door. And it's like you're literally taking the courageous steps to start the dominoes that make this happen, and I think that's an encouragement to some people who have ideas that behind every business, there is a moment of fear that somebody has overcome in order to start this and take the first step.
100%.
And you've got some right out of the gate.
It was tough, but I'm glad that we did it.
Yes.
Looking back, whenever you put it in perspective and say it like
Sure.
that, it's like, wow, that sounds kind of crazy.
Yeah, how crazy was I?
But it didn't seem crazy at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that does sound kind of
So
crazy when you put it like that.
It's a brand new idea. Like, what's been your challenge of marketing what your business does, and letting your target demographic know who you are specifically in this community? Because you've got a really transient military community. You've got generally a younger median age. So you've got the demographics to really support it. There are tons of kids in our community. So it's like the families are here, but what's been your challenge of getting in front of the eyes of people so that they can see it?
The biggest challenge is really just confusion. Whenever people move here, they don't understand that we are for ages 8 and under. That's why we are a small children's facility. So we get a little kickback from that sometimes, but we do have to keep that age max on there to keep our little friends safe.
Sure.
So that's the biggest
because
kickback.
your 11-year-old knucklehead sandlot running around kids are going to terrorize the 2-year-old.
And they're great. We do
Sure.
love older kids. My kid has actually aged out of it. My oldest kid has aged out of Mochas and Minis. Whenever we started it, he was 5. So now he's 9 and he can't play anymore. And I do get it. You know, I wish that there was a good medium, but we do have to have a cutoff point there. And that is a little bit of a kickback that we get trying to put ourselves out to new families moving here, new military people coming in and out. That's been a little bit difficult, but we've been welcomed. You know, our first location was an amazing opening. We had a line, around the building whenever we first opened, because everyone was just so excited to find out what Mochas and Minis was. And we've grown so much. I'm so grateful for the people who came into our opening whenever we didn't know what we were doing at all, and they were still kind to us. So we've grown a lot from there. Our second location, we're still trying to get that one going a little bit, We had heard the request multiple times to get on the Sango side of town because everyone apparently lives there. All of our customers live there.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, it is hard because you feel like when you own a business and you operate it and you're there pretty much every day and you're going to sleep thinking about the dynamics of the business, and then you run into someone and, for example, me, like we've been in the building process of a brand new dental facility for 1.5 years. It's clearly been in construction. Like we've been posting about it on our social media for 1.5 years. We moved in 6 months ago, and I'll go into somewhere and be like, hey, did you move in your building yet? And I'm like, bro, what do I have to do to communicate with the masses? Like, how do I get your attention to say, yes, we're in? There's pictures, like we put it on billboards, we put it on social media. We tried to do as much as we could, but I think sometimes people don't realize how hard it is to really get your message out, and how powerful it is for word of mouth once people decide to share it on their own timeline, or they share it with their small group from church or their little league team of like, hey, maybe it's a preschool class. Like maybe instead of having our preschool graduation here, like let's see if we could go to Mochas and Minis. And then that one touch point with these 12 kids who are coming out of their preschool graduation, it's like, oh, this is really cool. We're going to come back. We're going to bring our friends. But it just takes that snowball of momentum to really get to work. And for the entrepreneurs, it will drive you crazy because you're trying so hard to let the people know what's happening. And it's hard to catch their attention.
I try to be an open book on all of our socials and try to make sure my customers are super informed about anything going on. But of course, there's people that don't have Facebook. There's people that don't subscribe to our text messages. There's people who don't subscribe to our emails. But I am channeling every avenue that I know. I have like 5,000 email subscribers, 2,000 text subscribers. We have 15,000 followers on our Facebook.
That is huge.
We have Instagram. We have almost every avenue possible, but sometimes there are people who don't know our changes. I know back in January, we implemented a policy where you have to wear grip socks, and that was brought on by our insurance company. But we still have people, we're in July now, that did not know that you were supposed to have grip socks. So it is a sore point, trying to reach everyone at once. But, when those people do take the initiative to share and send our facility to their friends, it really makes a huge difference.
Yeah. What would you say to someone that is kind of like casually a Mochas and Minis fan? From your perspective, like what would be your encouragement for them to even just take like 1 or 2 next steps to like try to support you? Like what kind of difference could it make in 2 or 3 months to your business?
So I did speak to one of our regulars the other day at our Tiny Town location, and she was like, I just wanted you to know that I've been watching you since you opened the first location, and I'm just such a big fan. I love everything that you do here. And I said, oh my goodness, I can't believe you haven't said anything, before. I would have loved to meet you. I would have loved to chat with you about your experiences. And she's like, I'm just a silent fan. I'm just, and I was like, man, I really wish you would have just said something. So I wish customers would let us know what they're enjoying and what they're not enjoying, you know, on a more personal level.
Yeah.
And just bring it to us rather than, you know, other places.
We won't mention the other places. Do you feel like there's this like cloud hanging over you? It's like, you're trying to serve the young families of our community. And in a way, that's exactly what I do too. Yeah. And it's like parents have so many different perspectives 100%. And you never know where their perspectives are being shaped and what they're bringing to you. And you're doing the same thing in your business. Yeah. And your goal is to do nothing but make their day.
That's
and
it. Yes,
it's nothing but make their day.
Answer.
And somehow there are times where you just get punched in the mouth. You're like, I didn't know that was an expectation. Exactly. And I'm really sorry. I wish you would have told me personally instead of the mom group or instead of this, because the damage is multiplied so much for a local business that doesn't have the back end of a big multi-hundred location franchise, for example, or whatever it may be.
I couldn't have said it better myself, honestly. I'm just one person, but I want to make everybody happy. And I am a people pleaser. And that's kind of hard sometimes being a business owner, as you probably know.
Oh, yeah, it is.
It tears you down a little bit every single time, you know, that there is an issue and you just want to make it better.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know, it gets escalated to a point that you can't even touch it anymore because no one brought it to you to try to fix it in the first place. So I guess just customers, I wish they would be more forthcoming to me to let me try to fix issues. But I also wish that they would let me know the good things so I can keep those things up and we could focus harder on those things that they love and take away some of the things that they don't love, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, I've asked people too, like, it really makes a difference to be a champion of local business in terms of what you recommend to people, because the dollars often stay here. You know, for example, in my business, our accounting dollars stay here. Our marketing dollars, for the most part, stay here. Yeah. You know, our payroll through our employees stay here. Like our giving and charity, like we do local organizations, local charities, like, you know, pretty much everything, even though we get paid by insurance companies, technically, like stuff that comes through here, like it's really sticking around Clarksville, Montgomery County in a very real way.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
And I don't know that sometimes the average customer understands the power that can be when they choose to keep their money here for entertainment and keep their money for amusement or whatever, instead of maybe getting the knee-jerk reaction to drive an hour and a half and go do something that is somewhat similar. Like, hey, let's try this out. Let's do this. Let's try to create some more momentum. Let's take a picture while we're here and post it on our page. Like those are the organic things that really help us, because as we are trying to fight the battle from the back end of the algorithm as a business to get in front of you, it takes us 10 times the amount of energy as it would for a person who just has a personal account to take a picture of their kid in front of that slide and just say, we had a lot of fun today. Yeah. And then that thing goes, and it's like, you look at it as I look at some of my friends, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like hundreds of interactions, dozens of comments. And it's like, we've got this professionally produced content on our commercial page. And it's like 2 crickets, you know, but it's so good.
I know.
It can be a real challenge.
It can be a challenge for sure. But people need to really keep it in the area as far as their spending. Right. Because, you know, I can give back to my employees. I do hire accountants in the area. You know, all of my money as a small business owner is funding other small businesses. Yeah. So, I mean, we even use you for our pediatric dentistry. Yeah. So, like, just
which I'm very grateful for. Yes.
keeping it local is just good for everybody, really. Yeah. And if there's something that we aren't hitting the mark on, just let us know. Yeah. And we're always here to make you happy.
Yeah. That's another thing about entrepreneurs is whether you want it or not, you develop a thick skin. And sometimes it's through the mud that you get it. And you'd rather not have those experiences, but you develop it one way or the other.
Yes. I had to hire a really good therapist for everyone to know.
Awkward pause, because so did I, you know. It's like, yep, we've been there.
Rough. It's rough.
Yeah, we've been there. One of the things you were sharing with me that I thought was really, really cool is this local spotlight awards that you're creating, and you're going to host it at the Ruby Cora later this fall. We're recording this episode in summer of 2024, and so this is going to be the first one. And I want to hear more about that, because what I'm gathering from you is like, hey, I've got this energy. I've got a creative spirit. I love our community. I'm doing this one location is doing well, pioneering the second location, and I'm still not satisfied. I still have more energy to bless our community in a new way. So tell us a little bit about this award ceremony. For people who are listening to this episode right away, maybe we can make it to the event. For the people who are listening to it later, it's like, this is probably going to become a cool annual thing.
I really hope so.
Yeah.
We've had a really good turnout for it. So I'm really just happy because I've put a lot of energy into this. I wasn't a huge fan of how, local award shows were going around here. And I wanted an award show that really genuinely celebrated small businesses. I feel like with the other local ones, you have to give something. They're expecting something. Not with our award show. We really just want to highlight small businesses and give everybody an excuse to get dressed up and have a good night.
Yeah. And by dressed up, you mean black tie.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're having a full black tie awards event, and we're going to have dinner catered by Royal Indian Cuisine. If you haven't had it yet, it's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. And it's just going to be a good opportunity for business mingling. You might meet some small business owners that you've never met before. And then we're giving out the awards, traditional award style. So no one's going to know who the winners are until they're at that night. Okay. We don't require people to come, though. Yeah. Attendance is not mandatory. We don't want anyone to think they purchased their award by being there. If you aren't in attendance, then we'll deliver the award to your business afterwards.
Cool. How are you doing, like, selecting the awards? Is it by vote? Is it by,
So we started open nominations. So everyone in the community, anyone could nominate a business. You did have to have a minimum of 3 nominations to get nominated. Yeah. So we tried to make sure that it wasn't just the small business owner themselves nominating.
Like, hey, how can I? That's a Kevin Kennedy Sr. trick right there. Yeah. It's like, how do you win all these awards 12 years in a row? Well, you figure out the rules and you make it work. You know?
So we try to keep it really fair. Everything is super secure, so no one can get in it and adjust any of the results. So we're just really, really excited about it. I hope that it becomes an annual thing, and I hope that it gives business owners a reason to take a break, because we never take a break. No. Never. We need it. And I want everyone to get dressed up and just have a good night and forget all of their problems for one night.
The catering sounds really cool. That's unique.
Good.
That's going to be awesome. Ruby Cora, obviously an amazing event venue. Really cool when we get to go to events there. I'm curious, like, how did that conversation go, at home? It's like, I'm sure you're taking some of your stress from business. I'm just like, I'm a husband. So it's like, if Adani just came to me with these ideas, like, I'm going to do a black tie event, new awards. We're going to host at the Ruby Cora. It's like, my mind would be blown. But from what you tell me, your husband is just the most amazing person in the world. And he just agrees. Okay. Yeah.
He just agrees now. But
I'm going to fire my therapist, not because of negative things. I'm just going to go talk to him.
Honestly,
that's probably what I should do.
Probably should.
How can I be more positive?
But to be fair, I handle all of it. I just say, I'm going to do this. And then he's like, okay, cool. And then that's incredible. Plan it all. Yeah. I just really love the community and being involved in the community. So I just want to find more ways to do that. Yeah.
How would you say, just from a personal growth standpoint, when the challenges come, like, how do you try to find the energy and the confidence in yourself, like, to get over the hurdle? Because I'm sure even in this award ceremony process, there are ideas that I've got written on paper that's like, okay, I would like to do this. This is a cool idea. And I mention it to 1 or 2 people, and it's like, okay, maybe that's good. Maybe I got a big cheerleader, maybe a not so big cheerleader. And then the easiest thing to do is just like stop and just like, okay, well, I'm just going to keep that idea inside, and not really bring it to fruition. But how do you develop that strength to kind of keep pushing through and actually make it happen?
Well, there's a lot of ideas that kind of fizzle out like that. Sure. I have tons of ideas, as you can imagine. I guess just I let my heart guide me. If my heart keeps pulling me towards it, like this award show, I was like, I just don't feel right about these awards coming up where we have to set up stuff and give things away. And, it just doesn't feel like it's celebrating us as business owners. It feels like we're creating an event for them, know. So it's just really my heart pulling me towards the things. And if it keeps pulling me, I just keep going.
Are you a reader, a podcast listener? It's like, do you like try to fill your brain with like entrepreneurial skills that way? Or are you more just like, I'm just going to wing it?
I do my research for sure, but I want to get to exactly what I want to get to. Yeah. So I will research that specifically.
Yes,
So
gotcha.
I don't like the general,
Gotcha.
kind of business. I
Yeah.
want to be right down to the nitty gritty,
Right to
what
the
I
niche.
need to know.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, what would you kind of, like, what are some things about Clarksville that I think kind of excite you about its future? Because part of you bringing Mochas and Minis to fruition, part of you bringing this awards kind of ceremony to fruition, it's like there's a sustaining energy that we know that our community is really special. And so what are some things that are on the horizon that have caught your attention that you're like, I'm really glad that I get to be in the community and contribute to a community that's doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I just see Clarksville growing as a whole. I
Yeah.
see more and more family events, which I really love. I think that prior to the last few years, we were kind of lacking in that.
Yeah.
So seeing other local businesses like Beach Haven and places
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
hosting family events is just really encouraging for a family entertainment style business.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited to be involved in that growth, involved in those opportunities for families to find something to do in the area.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely involved in it. So I'm going to give you one last softball toss pitch, like to the young families who've never been to Mochas and Minis, especially the Sango location, because it's new. It's bigger, right?
Yeah, it's bigger.
It's bigger. You got some new photos of it. They look fantastic on social media. So definitely go check that out. Look at Mochas and Minis on social media. But if you had a chance to talk to some of the families in the Sango area who maybe have seen the sign or happen to see it on social media, but they're maybe not quite brave enough to go venture by themselves, or maybe not, creative enough, or just kind of getting the energy enough to invite their friends to go try it out, what would you say to them?
I would say just please come check it out. We built this for you, This place is solely made for you. If there's something in there that you're just not loving, let us know, because your happiness is our priority. We train our staff to be as welcoming as possible. So we're just super excited to see you. We hope you come out and support our local business.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, Cheyenne, thank you so much for your time. This has been really fun. It's great to get to hear more stories of people. I'm still fascinated with just you driving around and looking for that space, but honestly, it's like such an encouragement that really, like, hard work and determination and belief in yourself can make things happen. And
It can.
And it is not, this just fell into my lap. And it's not like, I was just always 100% confident. Like, there's going to be fear that you've got to overcome. There's going to be challenges that you overcome for everything that gets created new, right?
Absolutely. If you don't do it, who's going to do it? That's kind of my viewpoint of everything.
Yeah, there's no Mochas and Minis without you.
Exactly.
So, well, I'm really glad you're in our community. Thanks for taking a chance on it. Thanks for taking the leap of faith to bring something into fruition. Really excited to see what the future has in store for your business and for your life, and the other ways that you'll contribute to the community in ways that we don't even know yet. Because I'm sure that brain will never turn off, and your husband will never say no. So
really not.
There's no telling what you're going to get yourself into.
I can't wait to show him that clip.
You might be mad at me. He'll charge me as a therapist now. That's right.
Will.
That's right. Well, hey, if you have made it to the end of this episode, I know that you are super encouraged and super thrilled to hear about the person behind this brand of Mochas and Minis here in our Sango community. They're in Tiny Town. Now you have some leather on the story that is going to want to make you go and visit, go check it out, share it with a friend, share it with your niece who has a young kid, or whomever it may be. Get them some gift certificates to go try it out. Just find some ways to support it, because now that you've heard the story, you can't do anything but try to create ways to go and make it better, make it successful, so that more and more of these businesses can pop up in our local community. If you enjoyed this story, you're going to love all of our other 60 plus episodes that we've released to date. These are people from all across our community who are doing great things, just like Cheyenne is doing amazing things in every corner of our community to make this place the greatest place to live in America. I'm Kevin Kennedy. I get the privilege of being the host of these shows. Go back and check those episodes out. You'll be really encouraged. Thanks so much. We'll see you on the next one.